Hey guys, Frosty Knives here, back with another EU book review, and today we are going to be taking a look at Star Wars Jedi Trial by David Sherman and Dan Cragg. And this is the only book that David and Dan have written for the expanded universe. This was published in 2005, and it clocks in at 337 pages. And this is the Anakin Skywalker-centric story. Just like in the last video, in the Cestus Deception, we got an Obi-Wan-centric story without Anakin. This time we get a Anakin Skywalker story without Obi-Wan. So he is on his own for this one. This is more of a military-style science fiction story. And the story behind this is fairly simple. So the Separatists and Count Dooku have decided to attack the planet of Praesitlin, because on that planet is the Intergalactic Communications Center. It's basically the galactic communications hub that Coruscant uses to speak to all the other planets around. So they've decided that if they could capture and or destroy the center, they could cripple the communications network of the Republic and essentially bring the Republic to its knees and effectively end the war. So the Republic and the Jedi catch wind of this, and they of course say we cannot allow that to happen, so they decide to send two Jedi with a contingent of starships and battleships and clone troopers to Praesitlin to essentially battle the Separatists and take the center back, or make sure that it doesn't get fallen into enemy hands. So they decide to send Anakin with another Jedi, and the Jedi that they decide to send him with is one Nejaa Halcyon. Now, for those of you who are Expanded Universe purists and have read a lot of the Expanded Universe, that name should be extremely familiar to you, because Nejaa Halcyon is the grandfather of one Corran Horn. Corran Horn, who we will meet much later on in the New Republic books, in the X-Wing books, and also in iJedi, and he's all the way through the New Republic stuff, and into the Vong War and everything. So it's neat to see that connection, and it's neat to see Nejaa show up in a book, because I don't know if he shows up anywhere else. This may be the only time we get to see Corran Horn's grandfather. And so they're sent off to fight the Separatists. Of course, Dooku has sent a moon called Tanith to lead the actual battle on the planet, and all of that. All of the Separatist battle plans and everything that they're doing is being overseen by Asajj Ventress. So it's a fairly simple story. They go in, they battle the Separatists. They essentially take it back. It's pretty straightforward. It's all action-packed from end to end. It's written in a very military-style fashion. So if you like those types of books where they talk about battle plans, and they talk about formations, and they talk about strategies, and they talk about all that military lingo and jargon, you may like this. And if that's not your cup of tea, you may not like it. Anakin and Nejaa did seem to hit it off almost immediately in the book. And the reason that you find out that they hit it off is because Nejaa is harboring the same kind of secret that Anakin is. Both of them are Jedi. Both of them are secretly married. Both of them, well, Nejaa has a child at this point. Padme is not pregnant yet, but so both of them are secretly married, and both of them have a family, and both of them will eventually have children. And Nejaa confides that in Anakin, and then Anakin confides his secret. So they form a bond over this shared Jedi secret that they have. The characterization of Nejaa was very well done. The character of Anakin was was okay. He wasn't as whiny as in other books. They tried to portray him as a Jedi general and give him some military experience. So it was okay. Anakin is still, of course, at this point, we get to hear some of his thoughts, and he's still wrestling with what he did back in his past. He's still wrestling with the fact that he slaughtered all the Tusken Raiders when he went to save his mother, that he killed the Blood Carver way back when in Rogue Planet, if you remember that. He's still wrestling with these feelings that he has because he knows they're not Jedi feelings. But he has them. He doesn't know what to do with them. And the one thing that did crop up in this book that will crop up in other books and that will become a big factor in Anakin's development and fall to the dark side is the biggest thing that he's wrestling with is he could not save his mother. He could save everybody else. He could save all these planets. He could save all these people, but he couldn't save his mother. And that's the big sticking claw in his head that she was the one person that he wanted and needed to save. And he couldn't do it. And he also is beginning to blame the Jedi for not going back and buying her out of slavery or saving her, even if they just released her to another planet or took her off Tatooine and just saved her and just said, you're on another planet, you can go live now. They didn't even do that. And so he's starting to harbor these feelings of animosity and anger towards the Jedi for not letting him go save his mother and them not saving his mother. And then when he finally got to do it in Attack of the Clones, he couldn't. And so he's wrestling with all of that. And that begins to be a big driving force with what Anakin eventually will, drive him to the dark side. So it was good to see some character development of Anakin. Overall, this book was pretty straightforward. It wasn't something that I would highly tout as a really good Star Wars novel, but it wasn't something that was at the bottom of the barrel. It was a middle of the road type of novel. It was fairly decent for what it was. I do like that we saw Nejaa in here. If I have one criticism of the book, it would be the way that the authors name their characters. They don't know, I don't know where they come up with some of these names, but they almost seem like they just started putting random words together and came up with names, because they have a character in there called Odie, a character in there called Urk, and a character in there called Hupsquatch. And I don't really know. I thought they could have done better with the naming conventions that just seemed weird and lazy to have people named Hupsquatch and Urk, but we get those. Again, this was written by two authors, so I don't know how this was done. And we never get to see another Star Wars novel by them, so this is all we have. Should you go out and read it? If you're reading it in the chronological order and continuity-wise, you should. But if you're not, this isn't one that I would recommend. It's just an okay read, a mediocre read. There's nothing inherently really bad about it, but there's nothing inherently really good about it either. And it really doesn't scream Star Wars to me. It just screams a good military-style fiction story set in the Star Wars universe with Star Wars characters. And I think I gave it a 3 on Goodreads. Middle-of-the-road rating for a middle-of-the-road book. Neither good nor bad. It just is. And I gotta tell you, I don't even know if we're halfway through the Clone Wars yet at this point, but I am really having a hard time reading the Clone Wars books. I cannot wait till we get out of the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars stories really feel to me like they're dragging. There's not a lot of things that I'm invested in the overall Clone Wars stories. I really can't wait until the Clone Wars are done, and we can get to Revenge of the Sith and beyond. There are more stories that I've read in the Clone Wars period that were meh than there are that were actually good. The good Clone Wars books seem to be very rare, and the middle of the road meh Star Wars books seem to be the predominant flavor of Star Wars books. And it's really starting to drag, but we are going to continue reading them because this is what we do, and we're going to make it through it, and we've committed to this, and we're going to go. At least I'm going to go. Whew! So guys, that is my review of Star Wars Jedi Trial. Oh yeah, also Anakin becomes a Jedi Knight in this book, which I think gets retconned later. But he does become a Jedi Knight. Part of the Jedi Trial is they send him to Prey Sitlin to see if he can actually, pass the test and become a knight. And he does. So going forward now, yay, we have a Jedi Knight, Anakin Skywalker. But will never be granted the rank of Master. You do have a seat on the council, but I do not give you the rank of Master. So the next book that we're going to read, or that I'm going to read, currently reading in the Star Wars Clone Wars journey, is Karen Travis's novelization of the book, of the TV show, The Clone Wars. It's just called The Clone Wars. It's written by Karen Travis. It's based on the TV show. That's the next book that we're reading. That's what I'm currently reading right now. It's a fairly short book. I got one without a dust jacket, so it's just a boring old hardcover, but we're working our way through it. So guys, there's my review of Jedi Trial. Hope you enjoyed it. Did you read it? Did you like it? What are your overall thoughts about the Clone Wars? Do you like the Clone Wars, or do you think they just dragged a little bit? As always, give it a thumbs up, give it a like and a subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell anybody that wants to or doesn't want to learn more about the Clone Wars. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.